Since Carnival Cruise Lines has introduced the Carnival Italian style ships to the United States, a vocal segment of Carnival Cruise veterans just seem to hate them, while others love just how different they are. Carnival Cruise Line's newest ship on the West Coast is the Carnival Firenze, one of the Vista class ships that originally debuted under Carnival's Costa brand and was previously slated for the Chinese cruise market. The Costa Firenze was repurposed following the pandemic to help support the surge in revenge travel going on in the States just after a brief inaugural season in Europe. But not before Carnival went into its uniquely Italian ship to shoehorn in some of the things that Carnival guests expect from the brand on board. Alongside the Firenze's very similar sister, the Venezia, which was repurposed in 2023 along the East Coast, both ships are now fully dedicated to East and West Coast operations, with Venezia focused on the Bahamas and Caribbean, with the Firenze focused on the Mexican Riviera. And that is where our journey begins today. The Carnival West Coast hub of Long Beach is in my backyard, and I was thrilled to be setting sail on the Carnival Firenze for a 6-night voyage all the way down to Mexico. After thoroughly enjoying my 9-day cruise on the Venezia late last year, I couldn't wait for this. As always, the Carnival West Coast hub is housed in a former aviation dome just steps away from the cruise parking garage and bottom level porter service. My arrival appointment was scheduled for 10 a.m., and unfortunately, due to the traffic backup getting into this area, I was walking up shortly after 10:30 a.m. The entire processing from check-in to security took less than 5 minutes, and when I made it through to the other side, they had already called my boarding group. I gotta tell you, I cruise out of Long Beach often. This has to be one of the earliest and most efficient boarding experiences I have ever been a part of. Bravo to Carnival on that. Much like the Venezia, the Firenze is elegant and beautiful. I've come to find that die-hard Carnival cruisers either love or hate the Venezia for some reason, and there's very little middle ground, it seems. And as mentioned, I really enjoyed the Venezia in theme, comfort, and options. It's said that the designers of the ship focused on the history of Florence for the dining spaces, with influences including the Palazzo Pitti, Florence Cathedral, Piazza del Duomo, and Palazzo Vecchio throughout, which creates such a rich and warm backstory to a ship that doesn't otherwise feel like Carnival theming in a good way. Stretching marble columns, regal gold accents, rich red colors, and you can't forget the painted blue sky overhead here in the 3-story atrium. This is where we embarked and left from on the last day. This is also where you can find a variety of retail known as the fun shops. Those are on the top 2 levels on decks 4 and 5 of this atrium. From your more standard Carnival souvenirs like hats, shirts, and shot glasses, to your more high-end shops, which feature everything from fine jewelry and watches. The Carnival signature cherry on top candy store can also be found here, with every sweet treat you could think of. And of course, a sundries and duty-free alcohol shop is also part of this grand footprint. Your beauty products are located in this lineup too, as is part of Carnival's Cloud9 Spa services. Separate from the treatment rooms you can find on Deck 12, the Cloud9 Salon is located right here off the atrium. Along with the giant lobby bar in this space down on Deck 3, just steps away is the guest services desk, and on the other side, the Carnival Excursions desk. The lounges on Carnival Firenze were inspired by the Tuscan countryside setting. A great example of this is the popular performance and trivia venue area called the Tuscany Lounge on Deck 5. With one corner that feels like you've walked into a winery, and then as you move away from that under a garden gazebo ceiling, you close in on a vivid and immersive floor-to-ceiling live digital screen view of the Tuscan Valley, which also changes into an evening backdrop as nighttime sets in. But at every turn, you are greeted by an Italian image or theme or portrait that helps to tell the story of this well-appointed ship. And it was one of the key reasons why I enjoyed the Carnival Venezia as well. The theme is tasteful, and it doesn't feel like a typical Carnival ship. In fact, I would share photos of my journey with friends, and almost no one guessed this was a Carnival cruise, especially in the Italian fashion themed Moda Lounge at the back of the ship closest to my stateroom. Plush, colorful, and so many different spaces in this lounge make for a vast landscape in which to capture images of your vacation in a just variety of settings. Also, if you're a fan of the layout on other Vista class ships, you will like the Firenze, as it's very similar. In fact, one of the reasons I enjoyed the Venezia was because it felt so similar, so familiar to me having been on the Carnival Panorama previously, which is also a Vista class ship. Oddly enough, every Vista class ship I have been on for the last 3 years, including this one, has had the exact same cruise director. Joey Boys of England is an absolute joy to have at the helm of Carnival Fun anytime I am on board. And I got to tell you, it felt like a warm welcome back having him here on this inaugural season launch of the Firenze. Joey ranks at the top of my list when it comes to cruise directors on any brand. Is there a cruise director who stands out to you as head and shoulders above the rest on Carnival? I'd love to hear from you in the comments on that one. Now that I was on board, I headed immediately to my muster station to get that out of the way. If you haven't been on Carnival lately, they have retained the pandemic era muster protocols, which you arrive to your assigned location, they scan your boarding pass, and you witness a 2 to 3 minute demonstration by a crew member. They ask you to later watch a safety video in your stateroom, and then you're all done, in and out, and on with your cruise. Since my stateroom wouldn't be available for at least another 2 hours, I decided it was time to find me something to eat. As I say on every cruise journal, as a solo cruiser, I know to never approach a ship's buffet on day one for lunch because it'll be completely overwhelmed. So I decided to head somewhere else entirely. My first meal on embarkation day was on Deck 5 at Lada Grill. This complimentary Italian street food station, as they call it, was something I knew about from my Venezia cruise, and as someone who was staying on Deck 6 right above this area the last time, and now, of course, right around the corner here on Deck 5 this time, I was thrilled to have such a fresh, delicious option on sea days in particular. Tucked away on one side of Deck 5, Lada Grill shares some similarities with Guy Fieri's Pig and Anchor, as it serves up barbecue and mac and cheese in addition to Italian sausage sandwiches, panzanella salad, and the like. And since it's off the beaten path, the lines here are not very long since fewer people just seem to know about it. The crew here, always very engaging, and the selections did change slightly whenever it was open. This location is surrounded by long, stretching seating areas and does rub up against a nearby smoking area, so if the wind blows the right direction, it is something that you might be impacted by. Moving to the included main dining rooms, as you reach the top of a sweeping staircase, you're greeted by a replica of Michelangelo's famous David statue, setting the tone for the refined elegance of the two-level Michelangelo dining room. The atmosphere is both glamorous and timeless, with striking black and white decor and massive chandeliers lighting up the space with a warm, sophisticated glow. This is also where my time dining takes place, and given how busy it can get, making a reservation is always strongly advised to avoid that dinner rush chaos that you might find. The menu changes daily, offering a wide range of appetizers like soups and salads, main dishes including specialties from renowned Carnival chef partner Emeril Lagasse, and of course irresistible desserts. If you're in the mood for something extra special, you can enhance your meal by paying a small surcharge for upgrades like sushi from Bonsai or a premium steak from the Fahrenheit 555 steakhouse that we'll cover in a little bit. I took advantage of my time dining and would notify them on my app when I wanted to dine. Never had to wait longer than 10 minutes before I was notified that a table was available. I showed it to the host at entry, and they whisked me away to my seat. I've said it before, I'll say it again. My time dining is a solo traveler's best friend if you're not looking to be sat at a communal table and instead just have some you time. You can also eat breakfast in the Michelangelo dining room, and on sea days, it's worth braving the crowds for the outstanding sea day brunch, another thing that I as a solo greatly appreciate. Tucked away midship on Deck 3, the Medici dining room offers set seating for guests who still like a reserved table and dining time every night. While the space isn't as grand as Michelangelo, it does still evoke a very upscale Italian vibe with patterned ceilings, cream and gold columns, curvy chandeliers, along with a lot of photo details that are really fun to look at. The dinner menu here is the same you would find in the other dining room, and on sea days, Medici becomes the place for an included pasta lunch with choices like spaghetti carbonara and linguine with meatballs. It's a great option when you are seeking a calmer atmosphere away from the lunchtime crowds up on the Lido deck. And speaking of, the Lido Marketplace is your home for the Carnival Firenze's buffet on board. It is almost always busy. Expect lines at most times that you visit, always bustling up in this area. The buffet does repeat from one area to another, and it became clear throughout the voyage that near the back of the ship where it repeats, it was always less impacted than the front. So the front closer to the main pool always had the biggest crowd. You go closer towards the aft pool on this deck, and you found far less of a line. The seating area around the Lido evokes a theme of an Italian garden with lots of nooks and crannies, and some of the walls were even decorated with Italian posters. One of the nice things about this space is that there always seemed to be a spot to sit at, no matter how crowded the buffet became. I love that. I also really appreciate the fact that this area is so well themed. It's just very photogenic because of that, right? So lots of great pictures to be taken throughout this space. Breakfast has an in-demand omelet station in addition to the usual American morning favorites. Stations at lunch included Comfort Kitchen with items such as meatloaf and chicken pot pie, highlighted Chef's Choice International cuisine such as Greek or Italian. Of course, you have the standard salad bar and a dessert section, as well as many more offerings throughout the day. Dinner was similar in terms of what it offered, as well as a few options from the main dining room menu. For the night owls, the buffet has a handful of options like chicken strips, hot dogs, fries, meatballs, slices of cake, you name it. They do have it here well into the night. Select soda and beer on-demand purchase fountains were scattered throughout the buffet, while the scanning of your room key card is an easier way of using your drink package to enjoy these. During the entirety of my cruise, I never saw the soda options available. Unfortunately, they were always shut down. The beer, however, was usually available. Speaking of drinks, your included options on board are, of course, water, lemonade, iced tea. You got yourself some coffee, standard tea, and in the morning, select juices like orange and apple juice. And we cannot forget the morning to late night swirls nearby, which still includes your soft serve ice cream. When it comes to food allergies, Carnival is laser focused on your needs. A waiter will ask you before every meal if you have any sensitivities or preferences, and the Menu Mate program allows the staff to tell you immediately what items on the menu are available for you to eat and what items can be customized and which you should avoid. A Menu Mate crew member is also located at a podium in the Lido Marketplace to help you navigate the menu if you need it. Right outside the buffet sits Guy's Burger Joint. This Carnival favorite gets an Italian twist on Firenze with two new burgers. The pepperoni pizza burger, topped with fried mozzarella and pepperoni, and then of course the super melty moots, which includes fresh mozzarella, tomato, and basil. While some classics like the pig patty might be missing, these new additions are definitely worth a try, and you can always load up your burgers with whatever you'd like at the nearby toppings bar, which also includes all your sauces. It was a gluttonous dream for me to dive into the pepperoni pizza burger, and it is my new personal favorite. In fact, I'm sad that this is only available on these Italian-style ships, and not all of them. I am definitely going to miss it on board other Carnival ships. On the other side of the Lido deck, combining Mexican and Italian flavors, Tomadoro serves customizable burritos, tacos, and other Mexican favorites with a few Italian inspired twists. This, of course, would be a location on any other Carnival ship where you might find the Blue Iguana Mexican joint. However, this is a fusion type restaurant now, and although most people stick to the classic Mexican offerings, it is a fun fusion option to explore for sure. I do love the Sicilian chicken wraps as well as the meatball hero sandwiches at the ready. And as I like to suggest to anyone hopping on board a Carnival cruise, you must stop by Tomadoro for breakfast and get the uber filling huevos rancheros, which you can also load up with toppings to your heart's content, as the toppings bar is available in the morning as well. It is also a perfect option if you are trying to get some grub before an early port day excursion. This is one of my, I think, top choices when it comes to getting off the ship early in the morning for something. I can always rely on Tomadoro or on other Carnival ships, the Blue Iguana. Also on this deck, Java Blue Cafe is poolside here, and while the specialty coffees and milkshakes do come with an upcharge in this environment, there are pastries here in the morning you could take advantage of. So if you love coffee, grab the coffee card here in this location and get your sixth drink free, in addition to your included pastries alongside your morning cup of joe. And I gotta say, this ship does a great job maximizing space use when it comes to food and beverage all over. An example of that is how the Firenze found a nice way to reuse the seafood shack space at the back of Deck 10 near the aft pool during breakfast and lunch. This spot moves things so quick that if there are lines, they don't really last very long. I noticed that omelets are also made back here in the mornings if the buffet becomes, I guess, too chaotic, we'll just say. While not a full slate of offerings that you might find at Shack's Big Chicken on other Carnival ships, this spot still manages to satisfy those chicken strip desires. And like I said, it moves fast for you. And on the other side of this same deck, you can grub down at Pizzeria Del Capitano. This poolside pizza spot is perfect for grabbing a slice, especially late at night, like 4 a.m. late, for example. As always, the large portions will keep you coming back, and there are always 5 types of pizza pies to choose from. This location also moves very efficiently, and more often than not, you are receiving slices straight out of the oven. That's how fast they move. Look, if these options don't sound good to you, head upstairs one deck to a Lido overlook area where something exists on the Firenze that did not exist on the Venezia, and that is Il Mercato. This new addition on Firenze offers a dedicated space for hot and cold sandwiches like your steak and cheese, your turkey and Swiss, a hearty Reuben can be found here, along with fresh Italian salads, sausages, hot dogs, sauerkraut. You got your toppings here, your sauces, as well as pork and chicken meatballs. This location was often forgotten about and was open from lunchtime to well into the night until 11 p.m. So it became one of my favorite go-to spots for a quick meal or snack. The chicken meatballs in pesto sauce was something I really enjoyed, and the cold turkey and Swiss was the perfect sandwich on the go. And way up on the adults-only Serenity deck, you can take advantage of a healthier option where Fresh Creations offers a custom salad bar daily away from the hectic Lido deck crowds. Those are the included food spots. Now let's turn our attention to the places that require an additional fee to enjoy here on the Carnival Firenze. One of the newest upcharge options here on Carnival in general is all things wings in the center of the Lido marketplace here on the Firenze, where $5 will get you 6 wings, or 24 wings for $18 are available with your choice of flavors. And as mentioned earlier, the Chicken Shack Dayside becomes something else in the evening. So if you're craving some seafood, head to the Seafood Shack near the aft pool. Lobster rolls and other seafood dishes are served here a la carte, and at $16, the lobster roll, very generously portioned, is enough to feed you and then some. Down on Deck 5, Carnival's newest specialty restaurant, Il Viaggio, offers a tour of Italian flavors beyond the typical Southern Italian fare. The portions here are quite large, and dishes like the pappardelle pasta or the grilled beef strip loin are fantastic. I had both on two separate visits to this specialty location where you can choose to sit inside in a very well appointed and we'll just call it a classy atmosphere, or you can do what I did and sit outside with that perfect ocean breeze to accompany my experience. For $42 per person, the value is undeniable, but be prepared for the sheer amount of food. From the diversity of the breads offered right up front to the fantastic starters like the house-made burrata and meatballs, and a great Italian Caesar salad. While you might be stuffed, you should never skip out on dessert here. In fact, I indulged in the phenomenal Mile High Gelato Pie one evening, which I was not able to finish. And on another, the crunchy yet sweet cannoli, which was a perfect complement to any Italian meal. I tried this restaurant for the first time on the Carnival Venezia, and while the food was great, the demand for the location was not. And I could tell they were still trying to work out the kinks of their new operation. The price point is much higher than the typical Italian spot on other Carnival ships known as Cucina del Capitano, and that may have also played into the lesser demand. The Firenze's Il Viaggio, while never slammed and always seemed to have walk-up openings, was considerably busier. And what I got a real kick out of was that any of the crew who took care of me in this restaurant on the Venezia ended up taking care of me here on the Firenze as well. What a fun moment it was for my server from that ship to recognize me at the same time I recognized him on this ship. It seems like they have finally figured out what makes this location special now and have even altered the menu by degrees to respond to the feedback. I had that confirmed by the restaurant manager. I say if you've never dined here before or you've waited to see the feedback from people that have, it is now time to give this place a shot. Also on Deck 5, the new empanada and pie concept on Firenze offers a small counter near the Tuscany Lounge serving savory empanadas, pies, and desserts. This location seemed to only really be open in the evening hours during live entertainment. The menu features 4 savory empanadas, 2 small pies, and 4 dessert options, along with various dips. Elsewhere on Deck 5, Carnival's signature steakhouse, Fahrenheit 555, continues to impress, especially when compared to rising steakhouse prices on land. At $49 per person, it is a great deal for the quality of the meal. I really, really liked the stuffed mushrooms with spinach and 4 cheese as my starter. My sides were buttered broccoli alongside Yukon Gold mashed potatoes, and that, of course, accompanied my cooked perfectly and seasoned just right 9-ounce filet mignon with 3 mustard sauce. The portions here, much like they have been on other Carnival ships, are filling without being gut-busting. Dessert is even more of a treat. Go with the iconic chocolate sphere or the caramelized apple tart on a base of puff pastry with vanilla ice cream on top, like I did. Another thing I like to share with anyone doing a specialty restaurant like Fahrenheit or Il Viaggio is that if you do a specialty restaurant on night 1 of your cruise, Carnival provides you a bottle of house wine as a thank you gift. Definitely worth checking out. And if you're craving some sushi, they got you covered too. Across from the steakhouse on Deck 5, Bonsai Sushi is a great onboard option. Open nightly for dinner and lunch on sea days. This fresh food opportunity is a pretty decent deal when you compare the pricing to what you might pay at a similar venue on land. I stopped here for lunch one day and ordered up a bento box that came with a salad, a California roll, and 3 pieces of sushi, all for $16. Bonsai Teppanyaki is directly across from the sushi, and if you enjoy the fun, interactive experience of teppanyaki, well, you're going to love this. The chefs here put on quite a show, and the food is plentiful. It's packed full of flavor, too. You do sit at communal tables for either meal, so I always tell people if you're looking to meet others, if you are looking to establish relationships on a cruise, this is a great way to do it. Lunch is $44, dinner is $49. And of course, room service is available 24/7 on Carnival Firenze. The menu is a la carte priced. However, continental breakfast options are still complimentary between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. They don't advertise this anymore, and you do need to scan the QR code in your stateroom in order to see the menu. One of my favorite things to do as a solo is take advantage of this included room service option as a way to ease into my day with some piping hot coffee, pastries, and of course, a beautiful morning sea breeze. All in all, the Firenze did a great job with food and beverage options, and I so appreciate the way they have utilized spaces that may have otherwise been closed during certain points of the day during my cruise on the Venezia, even absorbing space dedicated to recreation activities on the other ship by adding Il Mercato just above that very demanding Lido deck. It feels like they learned from the Venezia operation and just made everything better. Carnival in general has some of the best included dining options of any cruise line, and they proved it again to me on this cruise. Back here on embarkation day, an announcement overhead made it clear that rooms were now ready and we could begin to settle in. My stateroom selection on this cruise was done intentionally following my last Italian fun ship cruise based on what I heard. And after catching a glimpse of the exclusive terrazza cabanas and private deck on the aft end of the Venezia, I knew it was time for me to try a terrazza cabana stateroom myself on the Firenze. As mentioned, one of the very best parts about the terrazza staterooms section is the exclusive access it gets you to the Terrazza Moda outdoor lounge space at the back of the ship, with sweeping aft views of the wake morning to night and plenty of lounge space options to choose from. Whether it be their sunken tiered bench seating right up against the aft view, the seats sprinkled across the deck, or even the very large and covered club-like seating areas that you can sprawl out on. To either side of these covered seating sections sat elevated hot tubs to enjoy. Again, exclusive access only to those with terrazza staterooms, making this available most of the time I wanted to take a dip, and heavenly early in the morning to sit and soak in as the ocean rolled by or as we sailed into a new port. Another popular exclusive to this section of rooms is the dedicated outdoor bar that is an extension of the Moda Lounge bar on the inside. This, no doubt, makes a huge difference when you are looking to enjoy your drink package and not have to fight the crowds to get to your drink of choice. The crew on this deck is also exceptional. Bar servers come around to everyone, offering to fetch them their choice of cocktail. The terrazza stewards are constantly keeping things sparkling and ensuring just the cleanest environment possible. And on occasion, light snacks would be brought out for us to enjoy, and they were hand-delivered to wherever we were seated. Since a terrazza stateroom is a significant upcharge by comparison of the rest of the ship, my only concern was around whether or not the exclusive spaces were actually going to be kept that way, or if it would be a consistent stream of other passengers who just didn't pay for the access, crowding up the area and amenities, maybe just not understanding the upcharged nature of such an area. I've read those horror stories online, so I was a little concerned about it going into this. Fortunately, though, the crew in this area did an outstanding job of enforcing the exclusivity and approaching really any passenger who happened to wander out to the space to explain that they would need to have booked a terrazza section room and have a wristband in order to enjoy the area. Multiple signs inside the Moda Lounge that lead up to the exclusive space inform passengers that it is a wristband-only environment. However, I completely understand how confusing it was for some, because after 7 p.m. each night, when the Moda Lounge would become a performance venue, those signs are removed, and anyone can access that outdoor aft space that is exclusive during the day. So I think several would come back in the daytime. Several passengers would come out at night, see it, and go, wow, this is great. I need to come back tomorrow. They would do so, naturally, I think just assuming it was something that they could take part in. Speaking of the interior Moda Lounge, the lounge itself is also exclusive to terrazza guests in the morning, at least for a few hours, when a dedicated server breakfast occurs daily. From 7 to 9 a.m. on port days and 8 to 10 a.m. on sea days, a small menu of options are provided to terrazza guests who Come into the lounge and take a seat. Fresh baked pastries, omelets, avocado toast, parfaits, and so much more are here to select from, while the bar is open for you to approach for your morning coffee, milk, and a variety of juices to quench your thirst. All of these are included in your Tazza stateroom fare. However, I would like to point out that none of this is really advertised while you are on board. You sort of have to know it is happening in order to take advantage of it. The only communication Carnival provided me as a Tazza stateroom passenger was on day one when I had a note in my stateroom that shared there would be a dedicated sail away party on our private outdoor deck, complete with one of the ship's most popular DJs. Ahead of the cruise, though, in the breakdown of extras that come with Tazza on Carnival's website, is a blurb about a continental breakfast that really wasn't all that specific. In fact, I seem to remember hearing from passengers on the Venezia about a one-time special brunch for Tazza passengers in the steakhouse on a random sea day, and that was it. So really, that was all I was expecting going into this. The daily breakfast service to our lounge was a very pleasant surprise to stumble across, knowing that it was just steps away from my room. The Tazza staterooms are around and above Deck 5's aft end. Some are suites on higher levels, but if it is designated as Tazza, it gets all of the extras that I mentioned so far. I was staying on Deck 5, literally right around the corner from the Moda Lounge bar, one stateroom away from the last on this end of the ship. The outside-facing rooms in the section on Deck 5 are called Tazza Cabana rooms that have an extra-large private cabana patio, complete with two full-size loungers that face the ocean. These cabana patios are gated, and there is a scan pad for your room key on the outside in case you accidentally lock yourself out, since the sliding doors automatically lock when shut as a bit of a security feature, since, number one, you have neighbors walking by during the day, and since the back of the ship is open to the rest of the passengers at night. These cabanas are half covered and half open for the sunshine to seep in, with partial wall breaks between each cabana for privacy. The other nice feature to this section is the scan access security door that will take you to the rest of Deck 5, where a lot of entertainment, specialty dining, and nightlife ends up happening, but it also blocks the flow of traffic completely from anyone not staying in the cabanas area, keeping the neighborhood a very quiet experience. Oh, and if you are worried about people walking by and being able to see inside your stateroom, don't be. Your door is essentially a reflective mirror to the outside eye, and even at night, with your lights on, it is hard to make out any sort of details inside. Speaking of, let's head inside this cabana stateroom 5240 and show you what you can expect. Upon entry, you'll notice 3 coat hooks and large storage cabinets to your left, complete with exclusive Tazza stateroom branded robes and plenty of hangers if you need them. Your life jackets above a safe and several drawers to put your things in. Off to the right is the bathroom, where you will see an actual shower door, believe it or not, something most Carnival ships just do not have, with multiple towel racks just outside of it. 3 small shelves are on either side of the backlit center mirror in this bathroom, complete with 2 water glasses and a power outlet, as well as a tissue box and hand soap on the sink. Beneath the counter sits a trash can. Inside the shower is a detachable handle with 3 water pressure modes to select from. Great water pressure overall during this cruise. There is a single dispenser for a combined body wash and shampoo in here too. And I know some people don't like the isolated freestanding sink these Italian ships come with, feeling like maybe there's just less space overall, but I find the design a little more elegant with the rich wood paneling and the faux marble counters and shelving. I had no problem storing my things in here. There seemed to be the right amount of space for me. Just outside of the bathroom and to the right past the temperature controls sat the Tazza branded towels for use in the pools and hot tubs. Those were stacked on the green couch with accent pillows that sat just beneath a photo of a window to Italy. In front of this comfy couch, which could be doubled as a bed if needed, was a glass coffee table. The colors, along with the warmth of the wood paneling and cream wallpaper made for a very inviting space aesthetically. Wedged between the end of the couch and the start of the bed sat a small storage cabinet with a lamp on top and 2 USB charging ports in the wall with a light switch for the room, which was very convenient. On the opposite side of the room on the floor was an ottoman alongside a trash and recycle can with the desk counter above it. Alongside the ottoman was a mini fridge, and above those in the drawer was a hair dryer. You'll notice my pre-ordered Diet Pepsi was set out for me upon arrival, and a nice surprise to see a pair of binoculars for use as a courtesy to spot things with off of the cabana balcony. If you want to take these home, it is a price tag of $175. Just something to keep in mind. Next to that were a pair of drink glasses, some water for purchase, and an ice container that my steward was kind enough to fill each day. 3 shelving units above this desk and alongside the gold-framed backlit mirror. QR codes littered the desk area for things like room service menus, safety info, and spa options, and above those are a series of USB charging ports and a variety of power outlets to plug your devices into if you need more than just what is by the bed. And now we turn our attention to the bed, which of course are 2 beds pushed together to make one big bed for me on this cruise. The wood paneling extends to the headboard area of this bed, and a cream-colored cushioned wall surface reaches all the way up to the ceiling behind 4 large, fluffy pillows and 2 accent pillows. Another small storage cabinet sits on the other side of the bed, closest to the sliding glass door, and while a lamp sits on top of this one as well, there are no charging ports on this side. On the wall at the foot of the bed was a mounted TV. Carnival has a very limited selection of live channels and movies, many of which are pay-per-view. Along the sliding glass door were 2 switches for enabling the auto lock and unlock feature. The blackout curtains and sun curtains were both beautifully appointed. My Terrazza Cabana was only one away from the end of the row and all the sun deck amenities. But it is important to note that being this close to the action, I never did hear anyone in the nearby hot tub or partying in the evening. The same can be said for the Moda Lounge as well, that becomes a performance venue at night. I never once heard the live music, or my neighbors for that matter. My stateroom steward sharing with me that the walls in our wing in particular were heavily reinforced with insulation, making the late night crashing and banging even more strange. I really enjoyed the community feel of our Terrazza neighborhood and the perks that came with it. An exclusive sun deck, bar, breakfast, and cabana space to call your own really does make a huge difference on a sea day, especially when the entire ship's population are trying to enjoy the same things during most of the same time frame. That can be very difficult to navigate. How's it going? You hearing the crashing?
Oh, yeah.
Guest services is non-existent all of a sudden. They're not picking up. I've called 7 times.
Oh, wow. Oh, wait, yeah, not going all week.
Yeah, all week. Yeah.
Today's the worst.
Yeah, how bizarre. Hi there. Yeah, this is the 8th or 9th time I'm trying. I just wanted to make sure that it was updated to my case that the issue for my room with the loud crashing in the middle of the night between 2 and 3 a.m. has returned. It went away for one night, and it's back. My neighbors are up too, as they have been every night this week. I just wanted to make sure. I know it's the morning we're leaving, but this has not gone away, and it's probably going to be a problem for whoever has these rooms next. So FYI,
3 a.m. has come, and it stopped. It went the whole hour, the whole 2 a.m. hour. Like I said, I've tried calling now several times, but it's done, just like every night. It's unexplainable to everybody apparently, but the last person I talked to day before yesterday, he said that I guess a technical team was made aware, an engineering group on board was made aware, and that if I was to hear it again, to call so that someone from that group could come listen, because nobody seems to know what to say.
Every night from 2 to 3 a.m., I was woken up by loud thrashing no one could explain. But after speaking with my neighbors, I found it was only 4 rooms closest to the terrazza sun deck on the port side that had to deal with this noise. Staterooms 5234, 5238, 5240, and 5242. The interior cabins across the hall confirmed to me they heard nothing, and no one above our rooms heard anything either. The first night I heard it, I threw open my curtains and opened my cabana door to the outside to try and determine where the thrashing was coming from. I continued to hear it inside my stateroom more than I did outside, however. On day 2 of the cruise, I shared the disturbance with my stateroom steward, who said he had never been notified of such a noise before and encouraged me to contact guest services the next time that it happened. That night, it happened again, and I called the desk, who sent up a manager at about 2:45 a.m. I welcomed her into my stateroom to hear it for herself, and within a minute of entering my room, the thrashing happened again, and the manager's face was that of spooked. She immediately pulled out her digital device and said she would be sharing the concern with the guest services team and would add the issue to my case file that they would be opening. She said she had no idea what the sound could be. When I questioned whether the restaurant beneath us could be contributing to the issue with some potential late-night deep cleaning or something, she declared with certainty that there was no one in the restaurant at such an hour. She offered me earplugs as a solution on this night, but I told her I noticed that the sound goes away after 3 a.m., and it was nearly that time anyhow. The next night, it happened again. I called guest services, they apologized, and said they were going to send the information to the technical and engineering group on board to examine what was around me that could be contributing to such a noise, but that the guest services team was just as baffled as I was. There was one night during this cruise where the noise did not disrupt my sleep cycle, and I assumed the issue had been discovered and taken care of. So I went to guest services the next day to share my appreciation when the associate behind the counter told me the matter had not been solved, and they were still trying to get to the bottom of it. During that exchange, guest services was kind enough to offer me a substantial cruise credit for my trouble and keeping me up all week. And while I was not looking for reimbursement of any kind, this gesture meant a lot, as it was clear the Firenze crew was trying to really make the situation right. Over the course of this 6-day cruise, with 2 days in Cabo San Lucas and 1 day in Ensenada, I came to enjoy many of the included activities on board. On the hot days in Mexico, Carnival Waterworks was ready for me, with several water slides to choose from here on Deck 12, my favorite being the Twister water slide, as it snaked from high atop the ship down to just above the Lido deck. Another great way I passed some time was by trying my hand at mini golf, as several holes were sprinkled throughout the midship section here on Deck 12 as well. It also wrapped around an interior space on this deck called the Warehouse, which is essentially your on-board arcade full of the extra cost games. This end of Deck 12 is where you will find the jogging track, as it hugs the perimeter of the ship on this level. You'll also find tucked away covered seating spaces here that were almost never in use anytime I passed by, plus some foosball tables for some added fun. And while I'm no good at shooting hoops, many others are, and you can find your outdoor basketball court one deck below on Deck 11. Take things one deck higher from my mini golf, and you have another favorite activity of mine, the ropes course on Deck 14. Since Deck 13 doesn't exist, you can wobble and hard grip your way high above this area, obstacle by obstacle, if you are feeling a little adventurous. But that sort of white knuckle experience isn't for everyone either, especially if heights aren't your thing, which is why I really enjoyed spending solo time up at the included and adults only Serenity area on Deck 15. Filled with first come, first served loungers, clamshells, and table seating at the forward-most location of the ship, this space is one of my favorite things about Carnival. They offer this area for free, while most other brands have gone the direction of charging for a space just like this. And might I say, this is the nicest one I have seen in terms of theming. In addition to the daily included salad station they have up here, they also have a full bar and 2 hot tub spaces to soak in. Speaking of places to soak, the Carnival Firenze has a total of 4 hot tubs, these 2 on Serenity, and then 2 at the back of the ship on Deck 10, which will be on either side of the Versailles aft pool. There is one other pool on the Firenze, and it is also here on Deck 10 in the heart of the Lido deck. Is it on the smaller side? Yes, it is. And it is one of the biggest critiques people seem to have about the Venezia, which is designed almost identical when it comes to the way the Lido deck is set up on the Firenze. 2 levels of the Lido being mostly covered and walled in by sections, cutting up what feels like more intimate rooms in which to sit and relax in. But these rooms have one side with panel windows and small fresh air openings looking out to the ocean, or the other side being balconies that peer out onto the Lido deck itself. There are even some shelves in one of these rooms with complimentary board games to play with some friends you made on board, or books to dive into while you're enjoying your voyage. This well-themed Lido deck is also home to a stage and big screen where nightly Carnival dive-in movies play and various evening parties take place, like the unique Festa Italiana, celebrating all things Italian, where they hold things like gelato eating contests, Italian dance lessons, and plenty more. Plus, it's your home to enjoy some of the signature parties like the 80s Rocking Glow Bash under the stars. It's important to remember that this ship was designed with the Chinese market weather conditions in mind, and the significant covering of not just the Lido deck, but also outdoor spaces like the aft pool area were done for that reason. It's also why the Lido deck has a retractable roof on this ship too, which I never saw closed on this warm and beautiful cruise. Naturally, the Lido will be jam-packed during the middle of the day when at sea on any ship, almost always, which is why I don't even venture to the Lido during such times, because I know it's where most of the 4,208 passengers gravitate to. Later in the evenings or on port days, these pools definitely empty out and are ready for your solo self to go take a dip without worrying about how busy it might be. Something else you might enjoy on this ship is the vast Firenze Casino down on Deck 4. You could find plenty of table games and slots here, and one of the big differences on the Firenze is that they have figured out how to keep most of the smoke smell from the casino to the casino. Another one of the biggest complaints on the Venezia when I was on it was that the smoke smell poured out into the atrium and up to stateroom floors around it. I'm also happy to share that the Firenze has a small separated non-smoking casino out the main casino's back door, where even I dropped in to play for a while on 2 sea days. I lost everything, of course, but, I tried. Another place you could find me daily as a solo was at the Limelight Lounge on Deck 4 to catch 1 or 2 included stand-up comedy routines from 2 different comedians. I've said it before, Carnival has the best comedy program I have come across in cruising, and these shows always seem to book out. It is first come, first serve, and people begin lining up 15 to 30 minutes ahead, so make sure you do the same. When you get in early, bar service is available to enjoy with some lightning-fast servers. The best part about the Punchliner Comedy Club, as they call themselves, is that the comedians have PG shows as well as explicit, where they really change things up. In addition to that, halfway through our cruise, a new pair of comedians arrived to replace the original duo in order to keep things fresh for us. The Limelight Lounge also became the onboard nightclub that partied well into the morning hours. Entertainment in general could be found at every turn on this ship as the evening hours set in. The Moda Lounge, Tuscany Lounge, and Atrium all turn into performance venues with full bands to string trios and even soloists playing away well into the night also. But the biggest of all the performance venues on board is the Teatro Rosso Theater, a plush red and gold theater with spectacular classic chandeliers hanging from the ceiling. This main theater was a place I caught production shows like Dear Future Husband, passenger shows like Love and Marriage, and game day side for game shows like Deal or No Deal. The theater consumes the front end of the ship right off the atrium and covers most of Deck 4 on this side, and the balcony section of this theater is up on Deck 5. Terrific entertainment in here all around. I encourage you to check out some of the production shows. And while elegant nights still happen on the Firenze, the White Hot Night, which has carried over from other ships, has become one of my absolute favorite celebrations. Starting in the 3-story atrium and eventually carrying on up to the Lido deck, what feels like the entire ship dresses in all white and comes together to sing classic songs from different eras, all led by a sharply dressed DJ and that outstanding cruise director I was telling you about named Joey. Passengers of all ages get in on this communal concert and sing and dance together well into the evening. By the way, for solos looking to meet up with other solos on board, the Firenze does daily unhosted gatherings at different lounges. They also have LGBTQ mixers and AA sessions on the schedule for anyone that would like to take part in them. While I am not much of a drinker, you will find heavily themed bars at every corner on the Firenze. Many folks prefer to take advantage of the drink package here on Carnival. I might buy one or two during my journey, but for the most part I stick to the free stuff or my pre-ordered Pepsi they drop off in my stateroom at the start of the cruise. I always give a shout out though to one particular bar whenever I review a Carnival ship, and that is of course the Heroes Tribute Bar on Deck 4, where if you buy a special glass in this spot, they will donate a portion of your proceeds to Operation Homefront, an organization which provides rent-free housing to military families and helps wounded veterans get back on their feet. Outside of the always in-demand Atrium bar, the two bars with the most consistent demand that I witnessed every evening were both on Deck 5. First up, with the Amari bar, known on other ships as the Alchemy bar, and down the hall from that sat the Frizzante bar, both lively and fun spots to grab a libation. I mentioned how the salon for Cloud9 Spa was along the atrium on this ship. Well, the treatment part of the spa was up on Deck 12, and it was here where I booked a 75-minute Swedish massage treatment on our Ensenada port day. Port days will almost always get you cheaper spa services than sea days, and my massage therapist was wonderful and really listened to what I needed. She took excellent care of me, and the cost for this trip to Total Relaxationville was $140. Earlier, I shared how I became a huge fan of the Deck 5 promenade on the Venezia ship, and therefore made Deck 5 my home on this ship to be closer to it all of the fun and outdoor space that Deck 5 brings to me. Outside on Deck 5, you'll find a lot of great areas to sit back, relax, take in those ocean views at. This is a perfect place to come during the middle of those hectic sea days up on the Lido deck. Far fewer people ever come to this level during the day, and it's truly a wonderful spot to soak up the sun. Another area here on Deck 5 and on Deck 4 is at the very front of the ship. You want to talk about a place away from the crowds, this is it. This space not only has full loungers, but captivating forward-facing views where you will rarely get interrupted. I encourage you to take advantage of this location, particularly during sail away from any port, especially if you are staying in an interior cabin and have no visual to the outside world. Best of all, it's free, and it feels like it's all yours. And if you're a solo that wants to remember a cruise like this on a professional level, well, photographers are scattered all throughout the ship and at embarkation and all ports to help capture your moment. The taking of the photos are free. The obtaining of the photos vary in price. Pixels on Deck 5 will have you covered on that front. Of the 3 internet options Carnival provides cruisers, I went with the top-of-the-line premium level for the first time ever. I typically do value, but was curious as to the difference knowing this was a new ship and equipped with Starlink. Premium allows you to stream and basically do it all. And I'm happy to report it delivered, and I never once saw a true lag that wasn't worked out quickly. Something that I definitely want to give kudos to Carnival on is the digital debarkation process. I've never experienced this on another Carnival ship, but it sounds like they are rolling this out fleet-wide, which is excellent. Essentially 2 days before you leave, you go onto the Carnival Hub app on your phone and select the time frame you would like to debark the ship. They give you a group that you are going to be assigned to for the final day. For example, mine was Express Group F, and it told me that my leaving time would be approximately 8:30 to 8:50 a.m. Well, that time came on the final day. I received an alert at about 9 o'clock, so it was about 10 minutes behind, that they were ready for me to go. And so I grabbed my stuff, walked out, and I really didn't slow down until I hit the gangway. And it was as simple as that. A seamless process that I am truly impressed by, and this is probably why embarkation went so smoothly when I arrived. It's because they got everybody off the ship lightning fast, and I think it's all due to this digital debarkation process. This 6-day cruise to Cabo and Ensenada, staying in a Terraza Cabana stateroom with gratuity, ended up being a total cost of $2,085. That total does not include the other add-ons like specialty dining or premium internet, which are all totally up to you if you want to add those extras on. Assuming that the bizarre thrashing noises in the middle of the night gets fixed for our section of rooms, or that you stay in a different Terraza Cabana stateroom entirely, I feel like the price for the experience and the overall value for such a gorgeous ship, along with my area's private wake view sun deck, with the dedicated breakfast and bar service, as well as the 2 hot tubs, was worth the price as a solo traveler. And yes, I was paying double occupancy. It was a splurge that I knew was going to cost me more than a standard balcony like I had on the Venezia, and that was okay because I wanted to try the Terraza experience at least once. While other cruise lines now have ship-within-a-ship ultra upcharge spaces dedicated to premium segments of guests, this is about as first class as it gets on Carnival, aside from buying into the larger suite categories, which also gets you access to the Terraza amenities. I like that the space, while exclusive during the day, is still something all guests get to enjoy in the evening, something those other lines don't do. Earlier, I shared that this ship seemed to learn from Venezia's small mistakes or inefficiencies and improve on them. That, mixed with a different angle of Italian theming and even newer, fresher, and more sparkling footprint, makes the Carnival Firenze, at least in my eyes, a few hairs above the Venezia. For those who hate on the Italian fun ship concept here stateside, I really don't know what to tell you other than I have a difficult time understanding the weight in the arguments against these vessels. From the newest batch of ships that have come along in Carnival's fleet, these Italian ships are a classier option entirely, and in my opinion, a far greater theme than any of the newest modernized Carnival mega ships. These types of vessels are far more my speed, and I, for one, prefer them over the others now. But of course, we all have our own tastes, and which ship theme is better than the other is entirely subjective. I would just encourage anyone who hasn't had a chance to cruise on the Venezia or this Firenze to try it at least once and make up your own mind. As for my solo cruise future, I will absolutely be back, just probably far away from that stretch of loud thrashing rooms the next time. Now that you've heard me talk so much about the Venezia, I bet you're wondering what it's like. Well, I've included that full trip report out of New York on the right. Or if you would like to learn more about a recent cruise I took on Norwegian out of Orlando on one of the weirdest ships in their fleet, check out the video on the left.